Ahsoka Part 5 just dropped, and so did my heart. I think I just threw up a little. We are gonna review it, plus I read your predictions to see if you were on the right mark or way off. And I give my first ever theory about anything in Star Wars, so let's see if my predictions actually come true. So let's go. Welcome back to the channel. Ahsoka Part 5 slows down a little, but what a great time to do that. It was such a psychological ride. Since Sabine, Morgan, and Balen jump to the unknown realm, Hera gets more screen time for once, and we get to see her interact with more characters, and we saw more of her interactions with Huyang and Jason. We also got to see Ahsoka without her headdress apparel for the first time, which I have never seen before. And I think I have to go back to Tales of the Jedi to see if we saw her like that before. Then we get to the most anticipated scene, the world between worlds, and the meeting with Anakin. And it was the most anticipated scene that I have seen, or I've been waiting for, since I wanted to find out how Andor escapes from the prison. We also saw a young Padawan Ahsoka, which was great casting. For a second, I thought Ashley Eckstein voiced her character, but no, she didn't. Still, the young actress gave a great performance with so much emotion. This was the emotional snips that I had always wanted to see, at least in live action. And we finally got snips. And I think if Ahsoka had been paired with any other Jedi other than Anakin, her master would have tried to get rid of that fire and passion that Ahsoka was all about. And I really think that Anakin developed that fiery part of Ahsoka that we all love. But she was always a great Jedi, and in this episode, they made that very apparent in Padawan Ahsoka. Hayden Christensen was great as always, and the interaction between him and Padawan Ahsoka gave me goosebumps. Not because it was fan service for me, which, come on, let's be honest, it was, but they furthered the story between Ahsoka and Anakin by pushing her love of life and how she always cared for people, even those thought to be lesser, like clones, droids, and aliens who were seen as second-class citizens. Ahsoka was truly a Jedi of the people. And my favorite, Temuera Morrison, made an appearance, at least with his voice as Rex, so that was a great fan service for me, even if it was for a second. We also saw a 17-year-old Ahsoka at the Siege of Mandalore, again, played by the same actress as Padawan Ahsoka, but I love how it seemed like a dream. And if you're into philosophy, it was like reading a Plato passage where he and Socrates talk in a dialogue about the world and how things are. Ahsoka the White. In this episode, after her rescue, she is clothed in white garments. But it wasn't a dramatic reveal like Gandalf's was, but these are more clean cloth dressings like you would see in outpatient wear if they were in a rural setting back in the samurai days. So we have Ahsoka the White in a quiet reveal. But I love her new appearance this way. This is the true Ahsoka look, I think. Her spirit is pure, her mission is pure, her saber is pure. She is walking the true destiny of where the Force is taking her. We also see how bureaucratic the New Republic is and how Hera has a major conflict with them, especially Mon Mothma. And I can see this being a major point in the future where we see a major fallout with Mon Mothma and even Leia Organa, because I don't think Leia can protect Hera. Now, it's a mystery on how we're going to reunite with Sabine and try to re-engage with Morgan, but in the last scenes, we see Ahsoka communicating with the Purgle space whales, and it looks like we're gonna get a Jonah in the belly of the whale scenario. So now we are set for a reunion, and hopefully we get to see Thrawn and Ezra. Hopefully. But the best thing, even when she came back and became Ahsoka the White, we finally got to see Ahsoka smile, and we saw snips come out in the present-day Ahsoka. So this to me lets me know that Dave and Rosario were doing that to set up a contrast in her character to pre and post having seen Anakin Skywalker again. This is getting good, and now we see a glimmer of hope in the good guys, and this sets up the last portion of Act 2. We still have to see Thrawn, and we still, at least I hope, we are gonna see him totally unleash the Grand Admiral that made him the most favored Admiral by Palpatine. This episode was directed by Dave Filoni, and part 4 and 5 are classic Filoni in my eyes. Great episode, and I give this a solid 9 out of 10. So now let's get into your predictions and if any of them came true or how off the mark they are. And I also have some predictions from myself and some of my friends over at the Jedi Way. So this comes from members on YouTube, and Chad says, I think we'll see the big 3 together, Anakin, Ahsoka, and Rex. Chad was right. Great take, Chad. And Joseph says, finally get Thrawn and maybe Ezra at the end, but hearing Anakin say hello Snips got me. And I wish that happened at a teaser at the end, but no, it didn't happen. And yes, when I heard Anakin say hello Snips, my heart dropped. So I totally feel you, Joseph. And Jibber Jabber says that possibly Anakin will direct Ahsoka to Ezra and Thrawn via the world between worlds and restore her life force. Well, he didn't quite direct her to Thrawn and Ezra, but he did restore her life force, or at least showed her that life is more important. But rather, I think Ahsoka kind of taught Anakin that, didn't she? And these next ones are from my private fan group on the Padawan Academy. So if you want to join, you can always submit your application to the Academy on Facebook. And Harris says, my predictions, this is the episode Thrawn will appear and it's going to be epic. Hope you're well, Joey. Thanks, Harris, and it's great to hear from you, my friend. And Peter says, I think they will bring up the Yuuzhan Vong as a galactic threat, and this whole time, Thrawn has been working to stop them, and somehow Ezra and Thrawn have been working together to keep this other galactic threat under control. That might be a great prediction for next episode, so we're going to have to see if that one comes true, but that is a great take, Peter. Jason says, I predict Ahsoka will use the world between worlds to save Kanan Jarrus. You know, that was one that came into my mind, and just imagine the look on Hera's face if they showed up with Freddie Prinze Jr. That would have been cool. Owen says, Anakin attempts to lure Ahsoka into a universe where he never turned and she stayed in the Order. It's then revealed that Anakin is actually a manifestation of the Force and a false prophet of sorts. That was interesting. Didn't happen, but interesting take. Brendan says, we'll use the way between worlds to get to the other galaxy, and they will tease the Yuuzhan Vong. Brendan owns an amazing acrylic company, BF Displays, so check them out and tell him the Padawan sent you. But again, another mention of the Vong, so let's see if that happens in a future episode. Great take, Brandon. Derek says, I'm hoping that Ahsoka can sense Sabine's presence and track her from a great distance. I'm sure Sabine knows that. Well, Ahsoka seems pretty relaxed with the space whales that they can track Sabine, so let's see what happens with that. And our last comment before we get into my theories, this comes from RJ. I have to believe Anakin will give Ahsoka some kind of advantage in reaching Sabine, perhaps some insider information since he is a rehabilitated Sith Lord. That plus the burn she got on her palm will probably be just what they need to track her down. Who knows? Maybe Anakin will tell Ahsoka to team up with Luke, or better yet, recommend she hitch a ride on the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. You know what? I thought that burn would play a bigger part in this episode as well, but I guess we'll have to see if that does. And yeah, I've been waiting to see if Luke is even mentioned anywhere in this series. I hope he is, because he's out there. But now let's get into my theory. And this is one I actually said right when they announced the Ahsoka show, and I totally feel it now. And it has to do with Huyang, since I know all the lore about Huyang. Here's a short clip that I put out about 3 months ago that asked those questions.
Why is Huyang in the new Ahsoka series, and what role does the droid have to play? In the Clone Wars animated series, Huyang was introduced and helped the younglings build their lightsabers. We also found out that he has a vast knowledge of every lightsaber ever wielded by a Jedi. And since Huyang has a database span going back thousands of years, let's speculate. Number 1, he could be there to repair sabers or repair something that's vital to Ahsoka's mission. Number 2, since kyber crystals are living beings within the Force, Huyang can use this to find certain individuals that Ahsoka is looking for. Number 3, Huyang's vast knowledge could bring him into the mix either as exposition or a guide to find Jedi artifacts. Until we see the new Ahsoka show, we won't fully know. Let us know what you think in the comments.
And yesterday on the Jedi Way, right here on YouTube, my buddy Kevin said this about a text that I sent him.
I love Huyang. I actually am reminded of a theory that my buddy that I went to college with, his name's Joey, but he was texting me. He told me that he thinks, Disney's been very big on creating very likable droids, right? K2SO with his sacrifice, IG-11 with his sacrifice. He thinks long term, I don't know whether it's going to be out in the outer reaches and that's how everybody gets home. He believes that the next great sacrifice, the next great droid that we're going to lose is Huyang. And it's going to, because he's so likable and everybody on the internet loves him. And that will be a way to have stakes and pull someone off that you're not actually killing a human, you're killing a droid. So I just wanted to give him a shout out on that because he told me that. I was like, how dare you? Laura's going to be really mad at you.
She is.
Laura's mad at you, Joey. Sorry.
So I really think that Huyang is going to play a pivotal role in a major plot point that decides the fate of his friends. And, we're going to see, but that is my big prediction and my big first theory. And here's one from my buddy Kevin over at the Jedi Way.
I think that Balen is after the world between worlds himself.
To find somebody, to get somebody?
I don't know. He says to secure the future. Like, what are you trying to secure the future for? And I think at some point he says the greater good or something along those lines.
Yeah,
and I think he knows that, like, right now he's allied. And I think it's similar to Thrawn, who was allying with the Empire, but for reasons to him are just and valid for his species, right? And the greatest villains, whether they're villains or not, are the ones that truly believe in what they're trying to do.
Right.
And sometimes those have blurred lines. And so I feel like Balen is using Morgan. I think that Morgan's using Balen. And I think when Thrawn shows up, all bets are off. Thrawn's not going to need Balen. Morgan's not going to need Shin. And all, I've told you that, my thoughts on that. But yeah, I feel like Balen is, I think he feels that this thing, this thing can connect to the outer reaches. But I have a feeling he's after something greater. He's after control of the world between worlds. Now, I don't know where he would get that theory from, but I mean, even like he's got to be aware of it, right? Like, and so, and you see like the way that thing is working, like the hyper, all the cool star map stuff on that Stonehenge area. Like, I just feel like he's after something. He says power, right? What's going to happen when we get there? And he's like, absolute power. Him is not going to. What world does he think that like he'll be given all the power in the world if he helps Thrawn? Like, I think he's after something else. I think he wants to control and maybe like go back and stop Order 66, or you know what I mean? Like, I think he's going to have well intentions. Just he's taken a kind of a nasty path to get there.
So thanks to the Jedi Way, and please go check them out on YouTube. It's John Roca's channel. There's a link in the description. They always say the things that I think, but can never put into words. And they are really good. So thanks to Kevin, Laura, and John over at the Jedi Way. I love you guys and what you do over there. But what Kevin said about Balen, I was so focused on the main plot that I never thought about what Balen's motive is after he delivers Morgan to Thrawn. So I'm eager to see what storyline that takes. So I thought that was a great take, Kev. And I can't wait for part 6 as we finally get closer to the finale. And if you want to check out my other channel, it's called The Padawan Collector. And I talk about vintage Star Wars and vintage Star Wars lore. So head over there. The link for that channel is in my description. So please like and subscribe since this is a new channel. And as always, my friends, thank you, and I will see you next time.